How we doing, YouTube? Let me just add a little bit, baby. There we go. That ain't too bad. These days I might clean this all up behind me, but I doubt it. Um, I need to get me a little better light, probably. That light's kind of weirdo the way that comes up like that. I got a little cubby hole in my house here where um, I it's a shelf behind me there, and uh, and I got a dresser over there with my church clothes hanging up. But anyway, just kind of a out of the out of the way little spot here. But anyway, so yeah, we're going to talk a little my Lone Mountain truck today. I've been wanting to do this video for a while. I've been putting it off. I don't know why I've been putting it off. I just haven't taken the time to do it. My goofy phone. I always have a pin in my pocket. We're going to talk about this pin here in a second. Um, my goofy phone. I need to get a new iPhone. My other iPhone, the one I have now, is a 7 Plus, which has been a pretty good old phone actually. I don't have a lot of complaints about it. But, um, somewhere in the operating system, the way it works, I've got another channel that I don't really use very much, um, Backwater News. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. I kinda tinker around with it. Anyway, long story long, on that phone, it keeps wanting when I wanna go to YouTube Studio, it keeps wanting to go to that channel, and I can't make it quit going to it. My laptop here will let me go to, either one, but for some reason, that phone only wants to it's got it as its favorite, or however they say that, and, yeah, so I can't mucks me up, gives me fits, and the bad part is then I really can't do videos from the road very easy. I have to have my laptop going, and, so it's a little bit of a production to get everything going, and, not really a good deal. So I need to get that phone upgraded, I guess. I bought a while ago, I've told in an earlier video, and I started tinkering around with it a little bit. I didn't pay much for it. I got it on sale, so that was good. But I need to get somebody to give me a little guidance to how to set that up uh, for video. I've been trying to figure it out, but I don't quite have it. But anyway, long story short, again, that's where we're at on that. This pin right here, I was going to mention this pin. I just put that in my pocket. This is one of my work shirts. And I wear this shirt because it's got a pocket and I always got a pin. You drivers that don't carry a pin, amateur hour, amateur. Um, you don't have a notepad to write down what number your door you're supposed to go into, what trailer you brought in. If you're somebody that has different trailers, nothing worse than waiting to have to check in and somebody has to go look see what trailer they brought. Amateurs, and no pin. I was behind a guy Thursday. Is it Thursday? Thursday. No pen, no paper, had his phone, no license. I mean, he had a license, but he had to go get it. This one's a place that you gotta have a license check. And he did. There's a big sign. When you walk in the door, there's a big sign. Big, big sign. One person in the car check at a time must have a valid physical copy of your license. And he didn't bring it in. I go wait for him, go back out to his truck and get it. Anyway, we're gonna talk about Lone Mountain. Some people don't like Lone Mountain. Um, maybe they've had bad luck getting trucks. Maybe um, I don't know what all their issues have been. Usually that's what it is. It's they didn't have good luck with the truck they got. I can't say that I've had that problem. Knock on wood. I've had the exact opposite situation. Um, so for those of you that don't know, I bought a 579 Peterbilt 2019 model year at Christmas time, end of the year. I had it the first week. I bought it the last week of December and had it it was running the first week of January. Before that, I was leasing a truck from Arka where I work, where I was signed on. Actually, it's part of Arka, but it's Bullpen Express is the name of that division that they have their lease operators in and owner operators. And I had at that point I had a 2022 Volvo with a, uh, green APU. I had that truck for not quite a year, almost a year, but not quite. I had it from new. It was new when I got it, and I drove it for, like I said, not quite a year. I think I had 135,000 miles on it when I turned it in, something like that, and, it was a I could do another whole video on that truck. I'll just, hit the highlights. Um, it was a good truck. I liked that Volvo. It got good fuel mileage. I was getting up around 8, uh, all pretty much all the time, a little better than 8 if I wasn't real heavy, and, the one thing about the Volvo, I can't remember what's it had the Volvo engine in it, of course, but I don't remember what size the engine was, um, and I don't pay attention to the gears and none of that stuff, but, um, it did not like to be heavy, and it did not like the wind. If it was windy, that fuel mileage right, I mean, just right down, and, and the other thing I was noticing about that Volvo and I'd had an older Volvo, the l truck well, I had leased 3 trucks from them over the 1 1.5 years that I, leased trucks from 'em. They had a lease purchase, and I was thinking about doing it, but I didn't commit. That was coming out of the vid, and, right when we was having trouble getting equipment, and they switched to you could lease a truck from them, but they weren't doing lease purchases because they were afraid, they couldn't get the equipment replaced. I have cut back on Coca-Cola, but, um, tonight. This is Saturday night, what is it, the 21st, 21st of July, and, but anyway, um, so they were just doing leases, full maintenance leases. So, um, I was paying for the new Volvo, I was paying about 1,300 a week for that truck, including the maintenance. Their maintenance cost was a little bit high. The truck was like 900 a week, and their maintenance was I can't remember exactly, but I think it was 15 cents a mile. A little bit high. No, maybe it was 10, and the other truck, the older Volvo I had before was a little cheaper on the truck cost, but a little more on the maintenance cost. Yeah, that's how it was, something like that. But they both ended up being right a week, and at the time, I was making good money with it. Um, I had no trouble making revenue with that either one of those trucks, and I had no maintenance issues. All I had to do was drive it like I stole it and run, and that's what I did. And uh, the first year I was doing lease with them, I now granted rates was really good then, but I'd gross 8,000 a week, and I'd bring home, up around before taxes, 3,500 or a little bit more, even with that big truck payment. Well, I wanted to get out of that truck payment, because it wasn't benefiting me, and, paying that big number, at least on a lease purchase on a big number, if you're getting the money or if you own the gonna own the equipment at the end, it's not quite so bad. I'm rubbing my dog over here, she thinks I'm talking to her now. I had her outside a little bit ago, but, she would scratch at the door. Hear her moaning down there. Um, sh but, I mowed grass today and I got dust in my throat, I think. I've had a cough that don't quite wanna go away. But, anyway, so that's why I decided I wanted to buy a truck. Now granted, I knew at the time I bought this Lone Mountain truck, this would have been, like I said, at Christmas time, 2022. I knew that the prices of trucks were coming down. So I knew if I was to wait a little bit longer, I'd probably get it a little bit cheaper. And Lone Mountain trucks have gotten a little cheaper, and trucks in general have gotten a lot cheaper since they were in 2022. Um, so I will say right off the bat, I overpaid a little bit for this truck. Um, I said it was a 2019 579 Peterbilt with the APU, the Thermo King tri-pack, um, and it had 400 and I think it had 435,000 450,000, or just right around 450,000, not quite, somewhere right in there, and I paid about 100,000 for it. Um, I paid, 7,500 down, and on their program, you have to have at least 5,000 in the bank for maintenance after your down payment. So you have to have the down payment and then 5,000 in the bank for maintenance, and they check. You have to send them a screenshot of your bank account, statement, um, which was no issue. That was all good. Um, so I bought that truck. My payment then became 2150 a month for the truck. So previously, I was about, and it fluctuated a little bit before because of the maintenance cost, depending on what the maintenance was or how many miles I ran, fluctuated that maintenance, but it usually around 1,300. So that's about 5,200 a month that my truck payment was then, give or take a smidge. I said sometimes it comes up, it goes down. Uh, so now I'm at 2,150. Now there's one thing that's weird about their program, and maybe I've never bought a semi before like this, so I don't really know. But they have to have gap insurance, and what gap insurance is, um, they know that truck is overpriced. So if you was to go out and crash it the next day, the insurance company is not gonna pay them what you owe them on that truck. So you have to have what they call gap insurance, and the gap between what the truck is worth and what you owe on it, because you're upside down on it right away, which I'll explain part of that reason why in a minute. Um, so that is a little bit expensive. That's like 625, 625, I think 625 a month. And that's a separate insurance bill. Uh, Let me rephrase that. That is also my bobtail insurance, my, um, uh, when you're not hooked to a trailer, the company I run for, Arka, if I'm pulling their trailer, I'm under their insurance, but if I'm not under their trailer, then you have to have, bobtail insurance, which you guys all know about that. So, when I said that number, that included my bobtail insurance and this gap insurance, which is a little, so, um, so 20, so now I'm about, with insurance, about 2,700 a month, which turns out to be, um, about 680 a week with my insurance and everything. So way cheaper than running the lease. And the other good thing is instead of my lease money, which I could deduct all of it, but it was just going out the window, so to speak. Uh, at least this money that I'm spending is going to a piece of equipment that at the end of it, I can um, do whatever. Um, which is a little bit. You think that you're really putting money to save something, but at the end of the day, what's a million-mile truck worth? Not really that much. So, that's not really that good a deal. Um, uh, so that's how we got to the numbers there. It was a Martin truck. I don't know if you go on, I don't think they have any more right now. Um, if you go on Lone Mountain's website, they used to have quite a few of them. They were blue Peterbilts or Kenworths, and, not spec the greatest, uh, uh, they come with the APU, which is really good. They have the Cummins. I got one with Cummins engine, the X series, X15. Um, Probably would have rather had the what is it, the ISX, I think they call that other one. Um, but this motor's good. I got no issues with the motor. Um, Automatic transmissions, uh, is what mine has. Um, New I don't think it was new steer tires, but the steer tires were real good, and, new drives. Um, they didn't have refrigerators in them, but they did have, or the one I got didn't, uh, it did have the, inverter. Which not having a refrigerator is an issue. The Volvo had a refrigerator, and I'd never had trucks with refrigerators until I had those Volvos, and that is a really nice option. Very nice. I would never buy one without one. Another drawback about this truck is the when they spec'd it, and this has nothing to do with Lone Mountain. This was Martin when they had them built. On the cabinets, they didn't put doors on them, which is very irritating. They have these like leather flaps that kind of go up, and it's not a good system. Um, I don't know why Peterbilt would even sell a truck that way, to be perfectly honest with you. Maybe they have a reason. I don't know what it is. Um, uh, so, like I said, the engine's been great. Transmission, no issues. I had a couple little issues. Um, I mean, you always have little things, you know. Um, Uh, I had to get a turn signal fixed, which ended up having to go back to Peterbilt to get that fixed. It wasn't a federal case. They was able to fix it pretty easy. But, I changed the bulb, of course, and I checked the fuses, and they were good, and it was something they had to go on the computer and do something weird. Weird, I couldn't figure it out, and my local mechanic couldn't figure it out either. He said, "I don't know what the hell's wrong with this thing." And, so that was a little bit of a deal. That had nothing to do with the Lone Mountain. That was just a Peterbilt issue. Um, uh, so that What else? Actually, this is the problem I gotta fix tomorrow. I got a little bit of a water leak in the, APU, and I need to recharge it, I think, because it's not blowing very cold air, and it's supposed to be really hot this week, and it's not doing as good as it should, even remotely. So I'm gonna try to just to recharge it myself, get some of that stuff you get from Tractor Supply and hook it up and see if I can maybe it's got a little leak in it or something like that, or I don't know. But I may have to have that looked at. Um, the APU, let's talk about the APU. Like I said, this isn't really a Lone Mountain issue. This is a Thermo King issue and Peterbilt issue. Um, Lone Mountain just bought the truck. They buy gazillions of trucks, and they said this was a Martin's truck. Um, and they put the Thermo King on it. My issue with if you've ever sat next to a Volvo that had the air conditioning on, it makes that sound when the compressor turns on and off. Uh, this Thermo King doesn't seem to do that, but maybe because it's not working very good. That was irritating about the thermal or the green APU. Aside from that, the green APU is 10 times the APU this Thermo King is. Uh, it's not very good. It's not a good system. Um, the On the Volvo, that green APU would only turn on if the batteries got low. So if I turn my microwave on, for example, to make my breakfast, the APU wouldn't turn on necessarily. Um, this truck, as soon as I turn the microwave on, not when I plug it in, but as soon as I turn it on, that APU turns on right away. So I don't know how they do that system. I've heard some guys talk about it before. Um, not the green is way better. And I think Well, I'll have to see what I do the rest of the over winter time, but, my plan is really not to run that hard over winter time, but I am seriously, seriously considering, um, trading off that green Thermo King for a, green APU. It's a much better system, and the control panel inside is better on that. This Peterbilt one, I still really haven't figured it out. Um, Now it runs good and it heats good. I have no trouble with that side of it. It's just the weird the I'm afraid to put a refrigerator in there because I don't know how that's gonna pull if it's gonna keep wanting to turn my APU on. So I haven't quite got that figured. I need a little guidance from somebody that has an APU with has the Thermo King with the refrigerator to see if it wants to run all the time. But, that's not very good. But like I said, that's not really a Lone Mountain issue. That's just a Peterbilt Thermo King issue. Um, the fuel mileage on this truck, not as good as I thought it would be. Um, I struggle to get 8 miles a gallon out of this truck. Um, 7 to 7, 8, pretty regular. Um, it doesn't like to be heavy either, of course, but it affects it much less than it did the Volvo. And wind, of course, both of those things. It doesn't like it. I mean, you notice it on the fuel, but not you don't notice it as much. The Volvo, it'd fall right on its face in terms of fuel mileage. Had plenty of power. Never, I did it did okay then, but on that in that respect. But yeah, I was really disappointed. I'm gonna say disappointed because I really didn't have any expectations. I didn't know what to expect. Um, I had in 2014 or 15, I was driving for Ruan and had a new Freightliner Cascadia. That didn't have an APU, it had the batteries, which was a pretty good system. I think if I buy a new truck, I'll get the battery APU, I think. I don't know that for sure, um, but that crazy Freightliner got 8 miles a gallon all the time, and if it was light, it'd get almost 9 back then. Um, uh, this truck won't get 9 miles a gallon unless it's empty. You've got a trailer behind you. I mean, you gotta be bobtailing for this truck to get that good of fuel mileage. So I'm a little and it's got the fairings and everything down the side. Um, I try not to drive too fast, uh, but I gotta kinda stay after it, um, to make my loop. I run Evansville to Markham and back and forth every day. 595 miles a day is what I run, and I gotta kinda stay at it to make it all the way back around the loop because I run out of drive time. I go right up and down 41 on the west side of Indiana, 41 and 62, that kinda straight line down there. Which there's quite a few stoplights in some towns and stuff, so, I mean, it's got that to deal with. But even when I come around the other way and come up 57, if I get loaded in Mount Vernon, sometimes I'll come up around 57 up to Markham. It still doesn't get much better fuel mileage going that way, really any better. Actually, it might get a little bit better because I run a little bit faster. I only run about 62 or 65, and I think that truck might be geared to run a little bit it seems to like to run a little over 65 better than it likes to run 62. Um, but, yeah, that's I'm a little bit disappointed, I should say. I was hoping for a little bit better fuel mileage than that. Because my Volvo that Volvo I had, it was doing better. If it wasn't heavy and it wasn't windy, that truck was getting good fuel mileage. The nice thing about Lone Mountain program is I said it's a very simple program. You just send your financials in. They do their checks, whatever they have to do. They talk to you a little bit about they have somebody call you and see what kind of deal you're running. Um, Make sure you can kind of like Schneider does, but not quite as badly as Schneider does. Before they sell you a truck, you got to go about your business plan and stuff like that. It's not quite as bad as that, but just kind of make sure I think basically it'll make sure you got enough money for the down payment and the um, what do you call it? Maintenance fund. And make sure you're gonna be able to have money for maintenance. Because let's face it, maintenance is what puts everybody out of business, primarily maintenance and taxes. So the program is very simple. Um, I think the whole program and like I said, we did it over Christmas between the week between Christmas and New Year. Um, and I don't think I started the program or, s looking into it until after Christmas, and I was in the truck at New Year's. I had the truck home New Year's weekend. Well, it was at the yard at our yard, um, but I had the truck, possession of the truck, and it was had stickers on it and plate on it and ready to go. So it didn't take very long to do it. Um, and this is probably what the next part is. Now this is a Lone Mountain problem. The worst part about it, Lone Mountain's program. It's not really a worst part. It's just something to be aware of. They they call it a lease. You're buying the truck, you can't walk away from it. It's not like a walkaway lease where you can, you know, "So I don't think I wanna do this anymore, go do something else. Come get your truck." It's not that. It's not like that. But they call it a lease, and I think the reason why they do that is I don't know if it's for tax purposes or whatever, but, um, y the interest is built into the price of the truck. So, my truck is not when I said it was 100,000 and you wrinkle your nose a little bit, you say, "That's quite a little bit for a 435,000 mile, Peterbilt 579." It is, but you have to remember that includes the interest. So, I forget how many payments my truck is now. If I can find it real quick here, I can't remember how many I'm gonna pay it off early, so that's probably why I don't really care so much. The gap insurance was you had to have 10,000 gap insurance. Yeah, police insurance, yeah. Where does it say how many? Somewhere in here. Anyway, that's what it ends up being, right about the 100,000. Um, and, interest is built into the program or into the price. So if you pay it off early, you still have to pay all the interest. I think I have my payment, 4 years. I should have looked that up. I'm sorry, I should have looked that up and found out how many months that I had that. Anyway, it's 2,150 divided by, 92,000 or whatever it ended up being, 'cause it's right at 100,000 for the truck, 7,500 down. That's what it ended up being. Well, that interest is built into the payment. It's not split separate, so it's not like truck payment, interest payment. So you have to pay that whole thing. That's one of the reasons they want the gap insurance. That's why you're upside down on these trucks right away, because you pay the interest is loop is figured in there. Um, which, I mean, it's what it is. I got a truck that I wanted. If I woulda went and at that time, if I woulda went and financed one somewhere else, by the time I paid interest to them, it wouldn't have been that much difference in price, and granted, since then, the truck prices come down a little bit, but this truck, like I said, 1,300 minus, which is about what my truck payment was before every week, minus, 1, 3, 5. I got a calculator on my leg is what I'm looking at down here. It's about 700 bucks a week cheaper, uh, to do this, $700 a week times, 'cause I had to make that lease payment every week whether I worked or not, holidays or anything. That's 36,000 I'm saving a year just not having the, uh the difference between the lease payment and this truck I own. Granted, I gotta do maintenance out of that spread there, that 36,000, but, like, so far, I haven't had any issues maintenance-wise to speak of, um, really at all. couple little things, a couple little rubber pieces fell off or went the groundlets where the fuel goes in, there's a little rubber thing that fits around the plastic sidewall piece there. The one on the def and the one on the fuel on the driver's side, um, those little clippers went bad, so I gotta get them replaced. Um, um, Now this is a 579 issue, one with side skirts, and I didn't have this issue with my Volvo, um, that I had. You gotta really watch when you put that fuel in the tank, 'cause the nozzle doesn't always wanna stay in there, and because of the way the fairings are, like, my old truck that I used to have, when I had my day cab that I owned, I had a tarp strap. I could hook the fuel nozzle, with the tarp strap so it wouldn't flop out of there. These, you can't do that because of the way the plastic is, and I've had times when the stupid thing flopped out of there. Now, it always shuts off when it hits the ground, but, um, still, you lose fuel, and it makes a big damn mess, and, so that's not a good the system. The next one I get won't have the side fairings. Um, that's a fact. Partially because I like the way the tanks look when they're polished, but I don't like those fairings. I don't like the way that fuel goes in. Um, but that's like I said, that's a Peterbilt 579 issue, not a Lone Mountain issue. I had to cough there. Um, uh, um, Trying to think if there's anything else with that truck, that turn signal. Um, Seems like there was something else. Oh, I know what it was. My inverter quit working, and, for some reason, I had to take that side panel off and get in the battery box, and one of the big wires that goes up to, to it, had corroded and come loose. Right at the ground that was still connected to its what it was connected to, but where the wire went into the ground, that it had corroded right there and come off there. So I had to fix that. I did that myself. Um Other than that, just a couple little things, nothing major, no major expenses whatsoever. Um, I probably will get it aligned by the end of the year. This is July, end of July. I'll probably get it aligned because it just goes just a little bit not straight, and, not that you notice it when you're driving, but if that thing's not right, I think it's wearing on my steer tires. Probably get a new set of steer tires for it this year. The drive tires are wonderful still, no issue. Um, but the steer tires are just chunking littlest tiny bit, and I think they're Michelin. I got to double check before I tell you something where I tell you a lie. I'm pretty sure I looked at it and they were Michelins, but I don't know what number they were. Um, so um, I'll probably get new ones of them. 'Cause those are still real good, and I can save them for trailer tires or something like that, or give them to one of my farmer buddies that needs a set of trailer tires for their grain trailer or something, before they get all wore to pieces. And they're not bad like that, but it's just just littlest, tiniest little bit, I see it, and I don't like that, so we'll get new steer tires for it. Um, the other thing I think I might have done to it I knew there was something else that went bad. Wheel sensor went bad, and, my local shop fixed that. The problem with that is when that wheel sensor goes out, it doesn't let your cruise work anymore, and cruise is critical because otherwise you're driving 90 miles an hour into these little towns. So I gotta have cruise, otherwise I get driving too fast, I'm not paying attention. Um, I knew there was something else, yeah, that wheel sensor, um, but that's just that just happened, that wasn't a big cost to get fixed. Um Oh, there was one more thing that happened. The mirror thing come loose. Not the come loose, that's not the cover the wind cover behind the mirror on the passenger side? That stupid thing blew clean off of it. I was driving down the road, it was very, very windy, but I was driving down the road and that thing blew clean off. Didn't hit nothing or anything. Just and I seen it crack when it hit the road, so I didn't stop and pick it up. I had to get a new one of those. Peterbilt wanted $800 for one of those, not painted. Um, then I was gonna have to get it painted. So, needless to say, it got chrome ones on them, which is what I wanted anyway. Because they were just painted blue. My truck is blue, and, um, I wanted, I like the chrome ones better. The other thing I noticed on, the front bumper is painted, it's not chrome. It's got a lot of chips in it. I don't know if I don't know where it come from, if I don't know. Anyway, so I wanna get a new bumper for it before, winter time. I'll get a chrome bumper on it, and then, I think I'll change right now, the fairings on the, wheels, the drive wheels, the front quarter fenders and the mud flaps in the back, black. Those brackets and things are just black. I think I'll put chrome ones on it before, uh, before the end of the year. Um, that'll make it look a lot nicer. Um, and then but the only major thing that I'll have done to it, knock on wood, is I may have the overhead run because I think I need to check next time I'm at Peterbilt, um, or I need to check. Maybe I better check online. Peterbilt will say probably I need to do it for sure, but maybe run that overhead because I think you're supposed to run that overhead every 500,000 or something like that on those Cummins. But I'll check and see what the interval for that is. That shouldn't be too big a cost. And then when it's in, I will have the, clutch inspected to see because I don't know how they ran it before I had it, if it was just doing highway or if it was doing something else. I don't see how much clutch is left in it, because I want that changed on my time, not on its time. So if it's getting anywhere close, I'll have this over winter time, I'll have a new clutch put in it. I like to do that kind of stuff at winter time when I don't wanna drive anyway. Um, and then the other thing I'm gonna do, I think, um, the next time I have it in plugged in somewhere, every once in a while, the check engine light comes on. It doesn't stay on very long, half a day, and then it goes away. Just the engine symbol, not the shutdown, just that little symbol. And I got a meter for it to plug it in, but I'm not as smart as I need to be to run the meter. I had my mechanic, he looked at it as well, and he said one of the, depth sensors read reads hot, hotter than normal every once in a while, and that's what trips that. Um, what do they call them? Knock sensors or whatever they call those sensors, the 2 sensors for the DEF system that go bad on them. So I may have those changed only because, like I said, I'd rather have it changed on my schedule than on the side of the road schedule. Um, but as far as so far, the truck, any issue? Just that sensor and, uh, and that crazy cover, uh, plastic thing. Um, and I've noticed that the, um, one of the side fairings has got a little vibration in it. I don't know if there's little bushings that kinda keep that thing from flopping around. And so I actually have a tarp strap. You can't see it, it's from the in you I got it tarp strapped on the inside, so you can't see it, but it holds it tight, and it just vibrated just a little bit. Um, but I could feel it. I mean, when I walk by, I give it a little tug, and I said, "That thing's got a little wiggle to it." And, so I got my tarp strap on there till I get new bushings or figure out how to cinch that up a little bit, because the one issue with the Volvo I wanted to mention about my Volvo, like I said, it was a 2022. I had it since it was new and drove it for about 10 or 11 months, whatever it was. I was starting to notice those fairings were starting to get wiggly on that thing. And if you've ever seen a Volvo that's very old, it usually don't it has about half of its fairings on the side. Well, the reason is because they get to vibrate and then the stupid thing flops off. Well, I don't want this Peterbilt to do that to me, so, I'm, I need to get that, do a little investigation on that. But otherwise, it's been very good. The Lone Mountain truck has been wonderful, no complaints whatsoever. The program has been good for me. I got no complaints about the program. The girls I dealt with were very nice. Um, I said a little bit expensive, but if you figure the interest rates figured into that and the money that I saved not having a lease truck, I'm way ahead on that. So if you're thinking about getting a Lone Mountain truck, make sure you use my name, Stephen Lyle, Lile, and they'll give me a little splash of cash if you buy one from them. And their program is every truck that you get a reference from, and anybody that buys a truck gets this deal. Any truck that uses you as a reference, you get like 250 bucks or something like that. And then every fifth one, they take a truck payment away. So that's a pretty good deal, and everybody gets that buys a truck from them. So if you do buy a Lone Mountain truck, make sure you use my name, Stephen Lyle, Lile. And if you're thinking about coming to Arka, um, we'll do another video on Arca, the good and the bad about them, but use my name as well there because I get a little splash there too if you sign on with them. So God bless everybody. 41 minutes. We rambled on plenty long on this one, but God bless everybody, and we'll talk again soon. And uh, if you're thinking about a Lone Mountain truck, I wouldn't hesitate. I've had good luck with mine, and I hope you guys have good luck with yours as well. So God bless everybody.